Yes. So we represent a diverse mix of young, efficient, and passionate professionals creating solutions to the socio-economic issues impacting Greater Birmingham and the Midlands. Yeah. So what we'll be discussing this morning, we're going to be talking about what mental health is, myths about mental health and mental illness, the experience of international students with regards to mental health, higher education and mental health, foods and moods, how to maintain positive mental health, and when to seek professional help. So apparently statistics from the World Health Organization shows that 1 in 5 adults have experienced a mental health concern in the last year, and mental health struggles are more common than you think. So all of us exist on the spectrum, and at one point or the others, we might struggle with our mental health. So these conversations are very, very important, especially towards breaking the stigma, creating information and awareness, and helping people live better lives. So meet the speakers. Their cameras are on. So when I call your name, you just give like a little wave, like hello. So Paki is the impact officer at the Birmingham Global Shapers Hub. She is an international student who came to England from India, and she's a senior commercial analyst at Q Technology. So Paki, did it wave? Then Dari, he's the founder of Anti-Suicide and Depression Squad. He's a humanitarian and he's a lawyer. Then Olat is a service designer at Maraka. Pearl is a public health nutritionist, budding entrepreneur and researcher. Pearlie, I can't see you. Where's Pearl? Where's she gone? I don't know where she is. Then Tobiloba Osogbiye is a public affairs and youth engagement officer at the National Youth Engagement Service. So I'm going to, sometime while the conversation starts, I'm going to pop a survey into the comment section, and please just fill it in, because it will help us create better mental health cafes and better experiences for you. And then now we're starting. So can everybody just write down in the comments a childhood dream you had and where you are now? It will be kind of nice to see. So it doesn't have to be around any specific topic or subject, just anything like, I wanted to be a pilot, now I'm doing this, or I always thought I'll become this, and now I'm this, I'm doing this. 5 minutes.
Yomi?
Yes?
Sorry, just a quick one. All I can see is the slides and you, and nothing else.
Well, but can everybody else see the chat box? Yeah, Paki, I think it's because you're controlling it.
Yeah.
So I can see it. Oh, Ratchet says he wanted to be a cricketer, but now he's an energy engineer. Toby Lover says, I wanted to be an aeronautic engineer. Now I work to empower children and young people. That's nice. Simeon says, I wanted to be a pilot, but now a designer. Paki, I wanted to be an actress. Interesting. And now I work around tech. Violetta, I wanted to be a doctor. Now I'm a finance data analyst. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. Now I do social media. Olat, I wanted to be a doctor. Now I'm empowering citizens in the process of creating a better society through service design. That's great. Thank you all for sharing. Next slide. So we're going to just jump right into it. So I don't know, I think we'll just go around the speakers. We'll start with Paki. Just tell us what mental health is in your own words.
I think for me, mental health is just taking care of yourself and not explaining to others what exactly you're going through. Because sometimes mental health can be quite difficult for other people to understand. So for me, it's all about making yourself a priority and then looking after yourself. That is, I think, what mental health for me is.
Great. Dari.
All right. So for me, mental health has to just do with how your mind is, how you're able to process everything that is happening, your feelings, your emotion, and how you're able to just handle the normal stresses of life, basically. So that's what mental health is all about for me. Also being able to check in. And then, okay, yeah, I think that's just about it, right? I wanted to talk about everything. Just want to confirm. Yomi.
Yes, that's it. So Toby, what's mental health to you?
I think Paki and Daria have kind of, excuse me, explained it properly. I'll just say a one-liner. It's the emotional state of being. Simple as that.
Thank you. So who haven't Pearly? Is Pearl? Okay, Olat.
Yeah, I don't think I can say anything else than what they said. But I just let's start with saying that mental health is also health, and sometimes we forget about that. So just that's something that we have to keep in mind, and that's it.
Thank you. So the next one is, what are some myths about mental health and mental illness that really bother you? So certain things that people say around mental health that you're like, that's wrong, or that's, inappropriate, or yeah. Oh, I forgot. Toby.
Okay. Off the top of my head, I think one of the myths, especially coming from Nigeria, having lived in Nigeria my whole life, the most popular myth is if you say you have mental health challenges or you're going through mental health issues, then you're crazy and you probably are insane. So that's the biggest myth. So it's kind of a taboo and something that is not frequently spoken about. I think what I've come to realize as a myth since I've started living in the UK with regards to mental health is that some people feel that the fact that you have a mental health challenge or you're going through mental health issues, it means that your chances in life are limited, or you're not going to be able to access opportunities like other people because you're, in quote, unstable. So that's what comes to my mind immediately. I'm happy to expand on that later, but I want to hear what people have to say as well.
Thank you very much, Toby. Olat, what will you say are some myths? Because, yeah.
Well, I would start also what Toby said, that even, well, in Nigeria, I think it must be like seen worse, but here it's also seen like we are still crazy. Going to the psychologist or the therapist is something bad, and that it makes us weaker. And it's completely the opposite, that we are getting stronger by knowing what to do every time that we struggle with it. We are gaining some resources in life, and we are actually becoming stronger. And that's like the things of the tip we have in mind. And also, like, that we can't change that. Sometimes people think that when we have a mental health struggle, that it's going to be forever. And it's something that you can, well, there are some disorders that are forever, but that you can actually manage them and have well-being with that. So those are two of the myths that I would talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of stigma, and like people perceive mental health in a way like if you struggle, then maybe there's no hope for you, which is very wrong. Paki.
I think for me, I completely agree with Toby and Olas because of the whole stigma. And I think from where we are born and brought up, it actually, affects our thinking and assumptions about mental health as well. Even though I was struggling with it back in India as well, and I acknowledged it, but a lot of people around me couldn't really acknowledge it and disregarded it. And I think those things can actually derail someone's growth or even their will to actually approach a therapist or seek help. So disregarding it and seeing things as, oh, it happens to everyone. Everyone goes through, dark phases and low times, and it's not something that you should be that fussed about. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to keep crying about something. So I think disregarding it, not acknowledging it I think makes people more scared to actually access it in a very respectful way, to because some people are also very scared of the society and what other people will think of. I have been more open over here in the UK, and I'm very happy about that, but I think yes, there's a lot of stigma around that in other countries.
Thank you for sharing, Paki. Just to note, I've popped in a link into the chat, so please fill it in. It's just 5 questions, but it helps to give us more information. Thank you. So, Pearl, what are some myths around mental health and mental illness that really bother you?
Okay, so for me, basically, is the stigma around mental health. I feel that no matter how balanced everyone is, we all have some trigger points and everyone needs a good fix. It's just that sometimes some people are unable to deal with their problems, and that is how come they are able to get these illnesses. But once they come out of it, we have to show them love, compassion, and we don't have to stigmatize them. Once they had a lapse doesn't mean they'll always be in a lapse. So we have to show them so much love and compassion.
Sorry, who hasn't spoken? I think everybody. Sorry, oh, Dari.
All right. So I think some of the myths would be around the fact that a couple of people still think they are not mental health organizations that can help out, or people think that professionals don't exist. A couple of people also believe that when it comes to mental health, it has to do with spiritual problems, like only spiritual problems. As well. And so there's still a couple of misconceptions. So I think I will just stick with that. So those are just some of the myths around that. Yeah. And that everything that has to do with mental health means that the person is mad, person's clothes is torn and all those things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think all of you have basically echoed the same thing. So I'm just going to move into the next question, and that's how you describe struggling with your mental health for, someone who really hasn't experienced it before. I keep forgetting to call names.
I can go.
Yeah, Dari, please go.
All right. So it really just depends, right? So when it comes to mental health is different from mental illness. It's also very important that we're able to differentiate that. So mental health is just the way we have normal physical health. everyone has mental health. If you're struggling with your mental health, it means that, okay, maybe you have a mental illness. Are you depressed? Are you suicidal? Are you bipolar? And all of this. So it could really depend. So if you're talking about depression, means gradual to total loss of interest in something you usually do for 2 weeks as well. So I'll just stop there so I don't say everything and other people don't have anything to say. So yeah.
Okay, Toby, how you describe like struggling with, your mental health, or, having poor mental health, or, living with a mental illness for someone who hasn't experienced it?
I think the first thing to let them know, kind of alluding to what you said, Dari, is that mental health struggles come in different forms, and it can come as a result of different triggers. And it's not always what's in front of you that causes a mental health challenge. Sometimes it's historical challenges that you've had. So say trauma, for instance, childhood trauma, or any other adverse childhood experiences that young people have faced, or adults. I think the important thing for me to potentially add here is just that there's so many different triggers. It can come as a result of your environment, your social circles, your friends, what people say to you, the kind of life circumstances you find yourself in. It happens to everyone in different ways. It can feel, and I'm describing the struggle, right? I'm not just describing anything else, so just the struggle. It can feel like the world is crashing up on you, but there is help. And speaking from a perspective of someone who has gone through mental health challenges where I had to seek therapy, I did not even realize the depth of what I was going through until I sought therapy, until I started to speak to a professional who helped me realize the triggers around me. So based on that, I'll say the struggle feels like you're all alone, but the good thing is you're not alone, because if you seek help, then there's somebody there to help you understand the emotions that you're feeling, or help you understand how to tackle those emotions. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you very, very much, Toby. Sorry, did anybody see those people? That was quite scary. But yes, thank you so much for sharing, Toby and Dari. That was very honest and informative. Olat?
Yeah, I would describe it as like you, in my case, for example, I speak Spanish and someone is speaking in, I don't know, Chinese, and we are trying to connect and understand each other, and you're actually like frustrating yourself to explain how you feel, how you are, and when you're struggling and you can't communicate that, it becomes even worse. So like that miscommunication with people who don't get it is sometimes difficult, and it's important, like Toby said, to actually ask for help to people that you feel like they are secure and safe to talk with, because sometimes you can actually, well, Dara might say it later, but you might actually find or try to find help with someone like in a workplace, and you tell them about suicidal thoughts, and they are actually not prepared, or they are not the place to where you can actually tell these things, and that might feel even less safe than before. So it's to actually find people who you feel safe with, and that maybe they don't understand you, but they are listening to you and they are open to understand what you're feeling. And that's something that it's not always easy, but there are a lot of people that will understand.
Yes, that's completely true. I like the analogy you gave us, like trying to speak in another language to someone who might not understand. Paki, you're on mute.
I was on mute. I really love, how she described it, speaking a different language. And actually, when I explain other people about it, I use a similar example, which is about asthma. So we might be, breathing the same air, we might be in the same environment, uh, but if we are walking together, you might not be struggling with breathing, but I might be. You might not be able to tell it, like looking at my face or how I am behaving, but it's an internal struggle that you cannot really explain until you haven't actually felt it or lived through it. So mental health is something very similar to it. It's not very easily or physically visible, but it exists. And it's the same as any internal health condition, physical health condition that you cannot see, but it still exists within the brain. Brain is a part of our body, and it has all the right to not be able to work properly when it has faced so many different things in one lifetime, whether it's in your childhood, whether it's during your university, or if you have PTSD or any other health conditions, mental health conditions. And this is just so important to understand. So I think this is in I find it the most easiest way to actually explain it to people. And because I've also had asthma, minor asthma, when I was really young, and it was really difficult for me to actually explain it. So now it's easy for me to give that comparison to people.
Thank you so much, Paki. That was very, very helpful. So we're going to be going into the next set of questions, which are broken down to be focused on particular speakers in place of just everybody, because everybody has a different experience, like I mentioned before. For some of us is lived experience, for some of us is expert experience, and for Pearl, she's going to be focusing on foods and moods. So this set of questions are for Tobiloba, Paki, and Pearly. So I will start with Tobiloba, and I'll start with Pearly because she's been a bit quiet, and we'll just go around. Pearl, if you could turn on your camera, that would be great. So
my network, so I'm just trying to
sorry.
manage it. Yeah.
Okay, so as an international student, what is your experience of mental health?
Okay, that's quite interesting. Preparing for this session, I was just remembering how my experience was leaving home, getting into a new environment with all the excitement. But then after a while, you get in, and then after some weeks, all the excitement fades away. You start to miss home. You start to miss friends and family. It's like you have to start life all afresh, and it's quite a struggle because now you need to learn to meet new people and create home away from home, which is not so easy. However, I also went ahead and did a study. Being a public health nutritionist and pursuing public health nutrition, I did a study where I assessed the dietary choices and weight status of university students in the UK. And some of the findings are quite interesting. Maybe later on I'll get to talk about it. But at the end of the day, you realize that the foods that we eat have a role to play in our well-being and how we tend to maintain our energy balance, which is very, very critical. So these are some of the things that we have to look into. And aside that, I feel that we all have a threshold, and with the thresholds that we have, you should be in control. Nothing should be out of your control. If situations are getting a bit out of control, just take a short break and then go back to it. You'll be able to figure it all out. It's not easy sometimes, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel. There's no need to feel like life is ending for you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the for sharing your experience and your opinion on that. Paki.
So, as an international student, what was my experience? I think I can Culture shock wasn't that much, even though people do think, if you're coming from a different country, it would be quite different, because I think I found it quite similar to the lifestyle in Delhi, and it was easy for me to adapt in that way. I think for me, as an international student, my aim over here when I came to this country was to, as everyone, get the master's done, get the job. And it was the first time in a very long time that I was doing something that I absolutely loved. Marketing has always been my passion because I was an engineer before as well. So I've always been more analytical, more driven towards other parts of life and using other part of my brain, but I've always been creative. So I took a lot of pressure that I actually had to prove everything within 1 year. And also, we never really had the post-study work visa. So there was a lot of pressure that I actually applied on myself, that I need to, you know, get things done, and don't have a plan B. Like, you cannot really go back home. You need to get this done because, you have to prove it to everyone. But it was actually more not about proving to others, but it was more about proving to myself. And when we put that pressure on our own selves as an international student, dealing with 100 other things, it just makes the experience worse. Rather than enjoying the perks of actually having that experience, we get into this black hole where we are struggling, but we cannot really speak to anyone. And then it just keeps on going on. And you don't even realize when you have, fallen into the deep end and now you really need help. And a lot of people don't even seek help in that state. So I think I was lucky enough that my university did have mental health services. So that was easy to access. That definitely helped me. So as an international student, I think that was my experience in a very short summary about mental health.
Thank you so much for sharing, Paki. I feel like as international students, it's like juggling 50 balls at once in a year. And especially like if you've never lived abroad before, that could really take a toll on your well-being. Toby, what was your experience?
Oh my, I had a roller coaster of emotions when I first came to the UK to study. I think the first thing I felt was isolation, and this is something that somebody else has already mentioned, that isolation, being away from family. I've always been, well, I think I've been independent for a while, like being able to fend for myself and live alone. But knowing that I'm thousands of miles away from home and I can't just get on a plane if I wanted to the next day. I mean, I could have, but I'd have had to go through a lot of processes. But yeah, knowing that my family was really far away, that isolation kicked in. So I started to get really moody. I remember the first month of my being in the UK, I cried nonstop, back to back, for the first 1 month. And sometimes I would cry and not even know why I was crying. And that would even make me cry, the fact that I didn't know why I was crying. So I think that also led to the accumulation of stress that I'd already faced back home manifesting, because when you're alone in your own space, in your own thoughts, things that you never knew were a problem or a trigger would start to manifest. And because you don't have your support system around you, you would feel it more visible than it ever was. So I started to feel that stress manifesting, and then I progressed into like culture shock, starting to feel very overwhelmed about how things were being done. Although I kind of feel like I adapted to the culture shock a little bit better than my peers, because I was prepared mentally for the fact that things were going to be different. I wouldn't have access to things I would normally have back in Nigeria. And then that led me to needing a social circle to stay grounded and to stay in tune and to have that proper acculturation rather. And because I needed that social circle, I was depending too much on the energy from my friends. And so when I didn't get the attention from friends, or when I didn't get the attention from like a safe circle, a safe space circle, whatever, how people call it, and I end up feeling more isolated. And obviously the culture shock of the way friendships work, even in the UK, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, and the way people are a lot more to themselves, or a lot more direct, less, I wouldn't say less friendly, but not as, in my own experience, not as open as the community that I grew up in back in Nigeria. So at that point, I started to notice that I had a bit of a challenge just with my mental well-being, because I was getting stressed too often. I was getting tired and depressed, and I wasn't eating as much. That's why I nodded when you said something about nutrition. And then I then progressed to struggling to find a job, because as an international student, obviously you need sponsorship to live and work in the UK. And that took a mental toll on me as well. And luckily for me, I found a job which ended up being demanding. So that's the unlucky part. And the fact that I started to feel very overwhelmed at work made it so it was like different layers of stress that had already accumulated to that point. And what broke the camel's back was all the friends that I'd made and the social circles that had formed kind of dispersed, because because after my degree, I realized I was actually making international friends rather than a mix, so students who lived in the UK as well. So after my degree, all my international friends left, except maybe one or two who weren't based in the city where I'm based. And so that was another journey for me again. And that was just when I just became very frustrated, because I was alone all over again. And I was trying to focus at work, and it was very difficult. And so I had to seek help. So I recognized that I needed help. And luckily for me, my company at the time allowed me to have access to cognitive behavioral therapy, where I was then assessed and referred to a private therapist. So that's like the journey so far. It hasn't been pleasing. I think if I don't think anybody can ever be prepared actually for the mental health challenges that they might face when they leave their place of birth, especially if they've grown up in that country for all their lives. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey. Trying to find my ground, trying to find my identity all over again, coming from a predominantly Black country, knowing that I am Nigerian, I am Black, and coming into a system that is structured differently on the basis of what we've learned in history, and trying to work my way within that system has been very challenging. Yeah, that's the story so far.
Thank you. I feel like I can really connect with everybody's story. Olusunle. I feel like I can really connect with everybody's story. So before I go to the next question, and I'll start with her because I'm very conscious that she's leaving soon. I'm an international student too, and I wanted to start the mental health cafe. I think I told everybody I was going to start the cafe. All the Birmingham Global Shapers can testify. I told them early in the year, I was like, new year, new us, I'm going to launch a mental health cafe. And then I felt, for some reason, I felt like I came to England at the worst period. Literally, I came during the lockdown. Like I came today and they announced the lockdown the next day. So sorry, just some housekeeping. Please, if you aren't speaking, turn off your, mute yourself so that, it's not interrupting. I came during the lockdown, so I didn't even have the opportunity to make friends. I met a lot of my classmates at graduation. I spent most of the year in a room with 4 walls alone for a very long time. There were times that the only person I was seeing weeks was my landlord, and there were times that days would will pass by and I wouldn't even see my landlord. And that definitely took a toll on my well-being, my nutrition, my mental health, even like my social skills. And for some reason, I felt like, yeah, I just need to finish this degree. I just need to finish this degree. When I'm done with the degree, things will get better. And then I went into the job market, which isn't very kind to international students and immigrants. And that was another roller coaster. And then I got a job, what people would call a good job, but I just crashed. In the last few months, I just crashed. So when I came out of my breakdown, I was like, this is actually, I don't even know if I'm fully out, to be honest, but I'm getting there. I'm definitely in a better place. And I decided that we need to have more conversations around mental health and mental well-being. And that's part of what drove me to actually being like, you know what, we're going to start this cafe, even if 2 people join in or 10 people join in, just helping people know that there's community, they're not alone, there's help, and people have gone through the experiences. So obviously, we're not going to only talk about international students' mental health. We have a list and a spectrum of topics focused on mental health and well-being, especially for youth. But yeah, that's kind of like my own journey and experience, even though nobody asked me. So how do you think higher educational institutions can better support students with their well-being? Toby Loba.
Thanks, Yomi. Just one point. I think that HE institutions have to change the way they integrate students into the society. I think the main problem, and this is what I've noticed, is that most higher education institutions try to promote the culture of the city that that university or college or whatever is based in, and get people to buy into that. I think what they should be doing instead is not, so it's not acculturation, trying to get people stuck in. I think it should be more of celebrating individual differences and tailoring support systems to fit specific backgrounds and identities that people have. And so say for instance, I'm an international student, a Nigerian, an African. I come to University of Birmingham. I don't want someone to promote activities that they think I will like because I am Nigerian, or because this is Birmingham, so this is what we do and this is what you should like. I would rather they consult with their students from sub-Saharan Africa, student societies within that fit into that category, and design support systems that work for students from that region of the world. I think that works better than actually getting people to just do whatever it is that you want to give to them to do. I found that, so the reason I'm mentioning this is because my experience as an international student, there were loads of events and activities during Freshers Week. Unlike you, Yomi, you didn't get to experience none of that. But even I wasn't very in tune, because I felt that a lot of the events that were put on, a lot of the systems available, I could not really resonate with them. Could have been maybe because I was a bit shy or reserved because it was a new country. I was trying to get my foot in, but if I'd seen something familiar, if it was a Nigerian society meet and greet, or if there was like a cultural day exhibition or whatever, and like different cultures were exhibiting, things that I could resonate with. And I'm saying all these things because that experience that people have at university, that initial experience, contributes to their mental well-being moving on. So if they come to university and the first few weeks, they feel like they don't fit in and they feel like this space is not for them and they're just here to study and go, it would affect how they think and how they relate and how they can be social with their peers. And that would ultimately affect their productivity as well, because they wouldn't feel too connected to the university enough to give their 100%. I mean, some people can do it. Some people can detach and say, yeah, I'm just here to study and leave. But I'm a big advocate of, I don't know if you've heard this before, I'm a big advocate of not just going through university, but allowing university to go through you as well. So taking advantage of the opportunities that are available. I mean, we've paid an arm and a leg to study at these universities. So we should have structures that are very unique. I recognize that there cannot be a one-size-fits-all approach to all of these things because they're different groups and I recognize that you cannot cater for every single group of students, but efforts should be made in conscious efforts to diversify what's on offer for students when they first come to university. So that's the one point that's what I think is the most important. The student voice in how support systems are shaped. So not just support systems that are created by professionals, but yeah, it needs to have the student voice input.
Yes, so many gems. Thank you. Thank you so much, Toby. I remember joining Nottingham Trent University. Not if anybody has been to Nottingham, it's a very, very, very diverse city. And I asked what's happening for Black History Month, and there was nothing. There were no plans. So I basically had to start like a whole campaign. I had to like create proposals. I don't even know how I had energy to do that. But I think it was like just how bothered I was because I wasn't like, it's not Nigerian History Month or African, it's literally Black History Month. And this is a city that boasts of a lot of like Black students, so I see what you're saying and I completely agree. I would say like tailoring different models to the students is important. Paki, what do you think?
I think I would say I was lucky that I was studying at Aston. Of course, there are a lot of things that they could have done better, and I will mention them later. But I think I'll start by acknowledging the things that they did. The first thing was they were quite active during the Freshers Week. So, of course, I came in the year 2019, which was the year right after like few months we had COVID, and it changed the whole experience. But in the first 3 or 4 months of that whole experience, they actually had like a lot of societies. There was an Indian society, there was a Hindu society. They had these campaigns and these programs, which one was called like Aston Buddy, where they would actually pick one international student and buddy them up with somebody who was local. So both of them got an experience of what it's being, exposed to different cultures, and an international student felt home or secure and safe right away because they knew that there was someone that they were going to approach if they had any issues. So I think that was really useful. That was done by the Students' Union. But even though there were like all these societies and Aston Buddy, and they were doing like these trips on exploring places in Midlands, I saw a huge gap between what their perception of these societies and what we need is and what we exactly need. There's a huge difference because they function from a place that this is what we know and this is how things should be, but there was never a survey done or questions asked from the international students to actually build a program that caters the international students. It was coming from the people who have lived here all their life, who have their families really close or within the same country, who have access to everything that they want. And I'm not saying that they have or everyone has access to, but they know, they have been brought up in this country, they know exactly everything. So when I saw that huge gap, it did bother me. Like, yes, you have everything that is absolutely amazing, but it doesn't work. It actually won't work if an international student comes over here expecting, for example, in like what the three biggest communities of international students that come to the UK are Indian, Chinese, and Nigerians. And they make for the most of the international students, and I'm not disregarding other international students, but these three, it would be quite easy to actually, find these students on campus from bachelor's or their master's courses and speak to them and understand, what we could have done better to make, your life easy over here. But it wasn't there. Even though they're one of the most diverse universities, it just wasn't there. So I think if we can learn from the experience of what exactly the students want, it would become quite easy. It's something as basic as, for me, we have two very important festivals, Diwali and Holi. And both of these festivals, I actually went to another university, which is not that big, which is Birmingham City University. And they had amazing setup for Diwali and Holi. And I've celebrated these festivals in a different university because they did listen to their students and catered to these specific groups. So I think if the universities can do this, it would bridge that gap of how international students can actually see themselves fitting over here. Because yes, we are all aware we are coming over here for a new experience, and it won't be as same as it was back home. But all we want is just that glimpse or parts of it that we can relate to and we can feel of that this is also home for us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm just going to speed to Ola's slide because she's leaving in a bit. So yeah, I think it's thank you so much, Paki and Toby. But I really wanted to get her insight. And then we'll come back here. But I just wanted her to speak a bit before she goes. So Olat, thank you so much for joining us and partnering with us on this. I did introductions before, but for those who aren't here, Olat is a service designer at Maraca. She's the curator of the Global Shapers Bilbao Hub in Spain, and we're currently partnering with them on the Mental Health Cafe. So Olat, what do you wish you knew about mental health before you struggled with yours?
Well, first of all, I would have liked to know that it's something normal, something natural, and that it happens to almost everyone, because the statistics shows that most people suffer from mental health issues sometime in their life, and that there is a way out of all that struggle, that you only need the resources, and that actually what I said before, that you are just preparing yourself to get all the resources to get better and be more emotionally intelligent, or emotionally have more resources. And also that more people than I thought would be able to help me out, maybe not the best way or the way I need it, but they would be really helping me out in the way they could. And that sometimes you're vulnerable and it's not, you're actually suffering, and it's not the best time to actually be patient with other people, but sometimes you have to walk people through your pain to understand what's going on. So that's something that I would have loved to know, and that it's actually if you get perspective on your life, you'll see that it makes sense sometime, and that everything that happens, you can actually come out of it. It can be really hard, but actually that there are a lot of resources and there are a lot of people that are there to help you out. And how can friends and family really so that they care? I would say that it's not easy sometimes to connect. Like before I said that sometimes it's like you're talking different languages, and sometimes it's really frustrating and difficult to connect with other people. But I think that the most important way to actually show that you care sometimes can be just listening and just letting that person be on the state that they need at the moment. Like, for example, when I was younger, I had some panic attacks, and it was like just walking me through my, like having a space to take everything out, that was so much more important than just trying to calm me down. and that I've seen that with other people, it helped me. And then just trying to like have different details with the person, like even making a coffee or just spending, I don't know, an evening with a person and showing that you care. That's much more than anyone could do. So it's not as difficult as it may seem. It's just showing that you care and that you're there for them, and people can see it, maybe not at the beginning, but they can see that you're making that effort. So yeah, I would say that small efforts are probably more important than like big enormous ones, but that then you have to, well, it would be great if people had like a web page with all the psychologists or like resources to ask for professional help. But if you don't know how to seek professional help for a friend, just being there is enough. And that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Olat. That definitely is very, very helpful, because I find that oftentimes people feel like they can't support their friends or family or loved ones or colleagues or, classmates struggling with their mental health because they want to do all these big things. But meanwhile, it's like really the small things that definitely go a long way into helping people and empowering people. So I think
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, I think you touched on this already, but then how can friends and family show that they care about you, but not center your mental health as the only thing going on in your life? Because like I find that sometimes, like for example, for me, I mean, I'm very vocal about my struggles with my mental health. Like, but I'm struggling with my mental health, but then, for example, I still have the Birmingham Global Shapers going on. I still have other things in my life going on. So how can I show that I support you, but, I'm not always talking about your mental health?
Well, I think just like I said, yeah, spending time with that person and actually just maybe sometimes it's more like if you see that person that is sad or angry or something, you can ask, how are you? But sometimes it's more like spending time doing something that will distract you from your struggle, like, I don't know, going to a dance lesson or going to I don't know, something like also creative that will help that person express herself or himself. And I think that helps a lot. But just spending an evening having a coffee sometimes helps and just shows that you're there. And sometimes even a message when you're like, in this case, we are talking about people who are spending time abroad. And sometimes like just sending a message like, this reminded me of you. And that shows that you're actually caring about the person and you're there for them. And it's like you said, I think you should start small, and that people like that person will also communicate what she or he needs, like somebody. So yeah, I think that's like a small gestures.
Thank you so much, Olat.
Thank
Please,
you.
please, everybody mute yourself. Yeah, because that affects the sound. So Olat has to leave. Toby will be leaving in a bit. So if you guys would
Thank you
just
so
say
much.
your goodbyes and give everybody closure, that would be great.
Thank you.
Did you want us to say a few words? No?
Yeah, say a few words.
For closure. uh, um, just to say thank you for inviting me to speak or accepting me to speak. I've had really good insights from this call. If anyone has any questions based on any of the things I said, feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat. about anything. Yes, thank you very much, Yomi, for organizing this, and to my fellow speakers, thank you for coming on board.
Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you so much, Olat. So we will just continue. I'm going to drop a link because I can see a few people have joined in. So welcome. This is the mental health cafe. So I'm going to drop a link into the chat again. Just please fill it in because it helps us to create better experiences. It gives us more information about, where we were before the cafe and then where we are now. So yeah, thank you. Hold on. Great. So we'll just backpedal a bit because I really wanted Olat to go before she steps out. So I just wanted to ask if anybody has felt any of this. So I created these slides in between the speaking sessions just to help us get a better understanding of mental health and knowing when to seek professional help. So if you find yourself eating or sleeping too little or too much, having low energy, feeling unusually confused, on edge or scared, hearing voices or believing things that are untrue, or finding it like very difficult to perform tasks that you ideally perform very normally, like very easily, then, please talk to someone, reach out to somebody. Remember that you're not alone and there's a lot of help and support available for you. So don't feel like you have to deal with it alone. And obviously, like everybody has said, mental health and a lot of what we've been saying, mental health is on a spectrum. So the way I might experience, the symptoms of mental illness or struggling with my mental health might not be the same with another person. For example, Dari might be high functioning, me, I might be the type that just sleeps all the time. So, but these are just like some very basic signs to show that something, is off. So we'll move to the next slide. Welcome everybody that is just joining in. So this is specifically for Pelly. Pelly is a nutritionist, a researcher, and a budding entrepreneur. Please mute your microphones. Thank you so much. So Pelly, can you tell us a bit about our diet, food, nutrients, and their impact on mental health?
Hi. So I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. Before I delve into diet, I want to commend you, Yomi, for starting this initiative. I think it's a very good thing, and more people need to learn about these things, because when people feel others are in their same shoes, or people are also having their own internal struggles, then they learn to feel that they are not alone. And so they are able to better deal with their situations and become better versions of themselves. Okay, so without wasting much time, let me just delve a bit into diet. But before that, I want to just give a typical example. I like the expressions you showed earlier, that do you feel you're eating too little or too much? Or do you feel you're not having adequate enough amount of sleep and things like that? Or you feel you can't do the tasks that you're doing? So I will still be incorporating my experience, and then I'll be sharing my expert knowledge in the sector, on the topic. So when I got into Chester for my master's, I realized, because I got in a bit late compared to my other colleagues, so they had already had the modules. I was just going to go in straight into exam, and I had to catch up on my own, figure it out. I think I asked for a tutorial, but unfortunately that tutorial was not granted. So I was just dumped with a lot of modules to catch up on my own, a lot of reading materials, and I didn't even know where to start from. So when I realized it was time for us to submit our assignment, so I managed to write the exam, and then the next thing was to submit an assignment, which I had no idea about. I had to self-learn and do it. And I missed the deadline, and that put me in a panic attack. So I kind of panicked, and I still managed to finish the work anyway and submit, but I felt that wasn't the best. So going forward, I decided to take hold of my own space and figure it out by myself. So I joined a gym, and joining the gym helped because I think after working out, when I come home, I have the appetite to eat. Because mind you, I was missing home, I was missing family. I didn't even have the urge to eat. I'm the type that I don't really like so much food. So I enjoy eating when there's family around me or other people around me are eating. And I was living in a studio apartment. So I was living all by myself, doing everything on my own. So I realized that doing something sporty would help me. So I joined the gym, and I realized that after going to the gym for maybe 30 minutes, doing a spin class or a Zumba or whatever class, I'll come back and then I'd find something to eat. And then that gave me a lot of energy to now think of, okay, let me go to the library and do my assignment. So that's how I adjusted. And then at a point in time, I also got a job with the careers department, and that also talked more about extracurricular activities. So venturing into these extracurricular activities also gave me that, because when you're doing a lot of different other things, it helps you to maintain some form of balance, and then helps you to take your mind off the things that are triggering that kind of stress, that panic, that stress. So then I decided that for my master's, I would look into the dietary patterns of students and see how best we can support students in that aspect. So based on my study, I wouldn't go into statistics, no, but I'll just give a clear picture of what I found out, and then the lessons we can pick from that. Most students, because you are away from home and you have assignments, deadlines, exams waiting for you, you have work to do, most students end up not cooking and end up buying a lot from outside, like buying a lot of food. And most of the foods that we end up binging on are foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, and high in salt. And most of these foods are not healthy. And even though they make you feel full and you feel you've eaten something, you're not having all the nutrients that the body needs in order to be healthy and well. And also because most students, you are in a hurry to finish off your assignments and things like that, you end up not having adequate amount of sleep. And that also has a tendency to affect you and how you feel. And so there's also the tendency to have a low intake of fruits and vegetables. Meanwhile, these fruits and vegetables contain nutrients that help the body to fight infection, helps you to remain holistically well. It helps you to have a beautiful skin. It helps you to have good nails and everything. But we end up not having adequate intake of these fruits and vegetables. The other thing too is hydration. We mostly do not get well hydrated. We go throughout the day and forget to drink water. Meanwhile, drinking water helps a lot. So these are the little things. They are the same things we know, but then we have to be a bit more conscious about how we go about them. You have to go through the day feeling energized. And so I would also go a bit into certain foods that help to keep us calm. There's this, okay, so but before I go into that, let me just talk basically about, so if you want to know what a healthy diet is, a healthy diet simply contains all the adequate amount of nutrients that the body needs. And it's a good mix of all the nutrients, the macronutrients being our proteins, our carbohydrates, and our fat and oils. And then the micronutrients being our vitamins and minerals. So when you have a good mix of these in your daily diet, you realize that you are getting all the energy that your body needs. When we buy a lot of ultra processed foods, most of these ultra processed foods do not have the actual ingredient. They only have the chemical version of it or just a substitute of it. And so we don't get the actual ingredients that the body needs. So that's why we are mostly advised to go fresh, buy the fruits, vegetables.
Hi, Pelly. She was complaining about her network, so that's probably it. So I think what she's been saying has been insightful. If you're enjoying this, just drop a comment saying, I'm learning a lot, or I'm enjoying it, or mention what the highlight of the event has been for you so far in the comments. So it's not a one-sided conversation. But I definitely am enjoying I really enjoyed the points she's making around food, nutrients, our diet, and all of that. Drinking water, staying hydrated, eating well, reducing the amount of processed food we take, because people don't know, and sometimes we don't even realize, but when your mental health isn't in the best place, one of the first things that goes to, that just goes off is what's it called, is your diet. Like for me, I realized that sometimes I just start ordering more takeout. I cook less. I don't focus on my nutrition a lot, and I'm just eating whatever. I'm snacking a lot. I'm taking a lot of sweets. And we don't realize, but even not having a routine, a food routine, impacts our mental health and our well-being negatively. And like Olat said before she left, we often think that it's these big things that impact our well-being, but then it's every other thing, every part of our life. So exercising properly, eating properly, taking care of ourselves, building community, like a lot of people have mentioned earlier, having a good network, everything. I think Pearl is back.
Sorry for the network hit. Yes, I'm back.
So,
Yes. Please, can you give me a heads up on where I left off, where the network messed up, so I can continue from there?
so yeah, I was trying to teach about nutrition on your behalf, so I forgot. I think we stopped where you were talking. I can't remember. I think you should just.
Okay, don't worry. Let me just go a bit on the WHO talking about the healthy diet, and then I pick it up from there. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so WHO is the World Health Organization. They talk about the constituents of a healthy diet. And basically, the healthy diet contains all the nutrients that the body needs. So having an adequate mix of both the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So the macronutrients are the carbohydrates, proteins, and fat and oils. And then the micronutrients are the vitamins and minerals. So when you have an adequate balance of all these nutrients, that is what we call a healthy diet. And then mostly we advise that you go fresh because, for example, the fruits, when you press them fresh, you get more of the nutrients. But when you eat a lot of the processed foods, you either get a chemical version of it or just a small percentage of the actual nutrients. So it's more advisable you go fresh on the fruits and vegetables and things like that. Let me quickly delve into yeah. Let me quickly delve into the can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me quickly delve into the foods that help our mood. So the foods that help our mood, foods that are protein rich, for example, meat, milk, egg, they contain proteins, right? And when these proteins are broken down, there's a particular amino acid called tryptophan, which is a precursor of serotonin. And serotonin induces sleep and that calmliness. So when you eat something like milk, a glass of milk, or boiled egg, or something like that, it gives you the proteins, and then when the proteins are broken down, it helps to induce that calming nature and make you feel a bit relaxed. And when foods that have quantities of B vitamins, and these may be the whole grains, green vegetables, and things like soy milk, yeast extract, and then the regular B vitamin supplements. They also have they also help to improve your mood. They help you to feel energized and have all that energy. And that's how come sometimes we advise that for a good start in your day, you have a this carbohydrate cereal, but then in that cereal you add some bit of milk, you know. So it's all about getting that balance. And then when you get adequate nutrients, they help you to get that kind of mood you need to start a good day. But what we mostly do is, because we are very busy, we end up skipping breakfast, which is not supposed to be the case. We skip breakfast a lot. And once you skip breakfast, you've missed a vital part of something that could have helped you start your day on a good note. So we have to do well to have a good breakfast so that we can actually start the day energized, full of energy. And then now I also wanted to touch down a bit on something. I remember one time I was going to do an exam, and I think it was an interview, and I was scared about the interview, and I had this more like a trial, like with a friend I know already who had gone ahead of me. And that day, the day before, she was like, "Pearl, you sound so dull. Like, why are you so dull? Just get yourself some chocolate and you'll be excited. At least put yourself in the good mood for the interview." So I ended up buying some chocolates, and then I ate it, and then it gave me some good vibes. Nevertheless, chocolates contain a lot of sugar, and so you are not supposed to binge so much on chocolate. But once in a while, if you want to get that good energy, you can have some bit of chocolate and you'll be fine. Anyway, and then one other thing that people do is to go in for alcohol. But the sad thing about it is alcohol is a depressant, so it makes your brain rather hello. So alcohol, some people go in for alcohol in order to deal with their fears, their struggles, and things like that. But the truth of the whole thing is, alcohol will give you that interim feeling, but because it will slow down your brain function, reduce your power of attention. So you feel it's making you feel better. However, it wouldn't, because after that leaves, you actually end up feeling worse. So resorting to alcohol wouldn't be the best if you want to deal with stress. And I would always tell people to ask for help. If you think you need help, you should ask for help. And also, I feel having mentors also helps. When you have a mentor, someone you look up to, it really, really helps, because you have someone to talk to guide you, and then you feel you are not alone. And then also, like I said, joining the gym really helped me. So having adequate amount of physical activity in a day, at least take a walk around, see new things, get your mind off what you are doing for a short while and get back to it. It really helps. So I hope that these little tidbits I've shared with you will be helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pearl. Some comments here have said that they've never really even thought about the connection between food and mental health. So it's great that, you have spoken to us, because it's definitely giving me more insight about how to include certain nutrients in my diet and how to take some off. So thank you very much. I'm very conscious of time. So we'll just go straight to, can everybody see the slides?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So currently, I would just like to highlight that mental health is integral, and when we're mentally healthy, we can realize our abilities, cope with stress, work productively, and contribute to society. So we're on to Dari now. For those who have just joined, Dari is a humanitarian, he's a lawyer, and he's a mental health sorry, advocate. Dari is a mental health advocate. Where did that H factor just come out? Sorry, everyone. So yeah, Dari is going to be talking us mostly to around being healthy and practical tips based on expert and lived experiences. So yes, so Dari, how can international students stay healthy mentally?
All right. So first things first, right? I feel like I should just talk about the culture shock briefly. So with the culture shock, based on what Toby mentioned, it's just about you're getting into a new environment, just like we spoke about. I know she mentioned that she cried and all of those things, right? So I just wanted everybody that might be going through that or listening to this later on to know that it's totally normal. And just due to the fact that you are not familiar with anyone, it's like a different environment and so much more as well. So in terms of staying healthy, I mean, I'm happy that we have a nutritionist. She's talking about the fact that we need to eat the kind of food to eat. So and then also trying to, I mean, one of the reasons why we even need food is this, right? Imagine you're driving somewhere, right? Just see your body as a car and you need fuel. Or if you're using a Tesla, you sure need to charge it basically. So self-care is very, very important. Self-care is very, very important. So I just want us to know that. So self-care is one way to go about that. Regular meals, eating healthy, not just eating, but eating healthy, exercise, play football, do a couple of exercise, in-house exercise and all of those things. Sleep is also important. You need to have adequate sleep, have a sleeping time so that your brain can be developed. And then there are also some breathing exercises as well that we can also do. So I don't know if everybody is comfortable, if I can just get like 3 minutes of our time. So I think I want to ask for permission from Yomi. Yomi, I want to just do a quick exercise in 3 minutes. So do I have your permission?
Yes, you do.
All right. So please, wherever you are, can we just close our eyes? I just want us to do some breathing exercises. And just close your eyes. Just take a deep breath in from your stomach. So we're going to take a deep breath in from our stomach and then hold our breath for 5 seconds and then we breathe out. So let's do it together. Just take a deep breath in. Now hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now just breathe out. Now take a deep breath in again from your stomach. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now just breathe out. Just in case you're not doing the exercise, just come back. Let's just try it so you can just have the experience of how to just remain calm. So just take a deep breath in from your stomach now. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now just breathe out. Just let go of every single thing. All right. Okay. So yeah, we can always just find time to do some of these breathing exercises so that we can always stay calm. We can also do meditation as well. Another thing I want to talk about is that spirit of resilience, right? So the truth is that life will always happen. Like negative news, different things will happen. But we just have to have that inner resilience that regardless of what is happening, we have to find a way to bounce back through the difficult experiences. So it's just very, very important that we have that at the back of our minds as well. So yeah.
Thank you very, very much, Dari. So what are the major factors which can be detrimental?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm so dramatic, but what are the major factors which can be detrimental to the mental health of students? In this conversation now, there are some people that are international students some have are no more students. Meanwhile, we also have some people that are just about to be students. So things to look out for and things to be conscious about, like that you feel like can be detrimental. And Paki, please join in.
Okay. So I will just talk about what cultural shock includes. So I don't know if everybody can hear me. So cultural shock includes the anxiety. When you move to a completely new environment, it's important that we have this understanding. So it means anxiety that is produced when you move to a completely new environment, not knowing what to do and how to do things because the situation is new, lack of familiarity with one's normal costume, physical and emotional discomfort, And so it's often said in the first few days or weeks of entering a new country. And it's possible that this might not happen at all. So this doesn't work for everyone, because people are traveling for different reasons, right? So I just want to talk about a few symptoms so we can take note of this. So many people are not fully prepared for the impact of a new culture. And so they might have the following experiences: extreme homesickness, desire to avoid social settings, you just want to stay indoors, hostility towards the host culture, like just upset as to how things are not working in the new place, or you just feel like, oh, you can't relate to this. You can fall into depression or feelings of helplessness, difficulty with coursework and concentration, even anxiety, related to new food, weather and cultural expectations, difficulty in sleeping, differences in personality. You realize that all of a sudden you're changing, But the most important thing is just to remember that this is just a very normal process, and that nearly everyone goes through this basically. So I think I will just go over and just talk about what to do about cultural shock, like when you find yourself in this situation. So first of all, you have to understand that culture shock is normal and understandable. You need to know that. Recognize what you are feeling. It's okay. Recognize what you are feeling. That yes, this is how you are feeling. Understand that you are not a failure. It's very, very important that you understand that you're not a failure. You have to tell yourself this. Also, get involved in host culture. I'm happy that Yomi, I'm really proud of Yomi. I remember when she joined, I think you worked on the mental health project, you spoke about it, and it went well. I was really happy to hear that. So engage yourself, try and see how you can implement some things that you feel like, other people might need. Yomi is doing this because this was something that, she had to deal with. And so she's doing this to be able to help other people, basically. So get involved in the host culture. I'm sure there are some activities that they are used to participate. Familiarize yourself with the host culture, keep busy, talk to someone. I know Toby mentioned that, the culture in UK for where she is, everybody's more like, do it yourself, keeping to themselves, basically. But I'm always the advocate of, create your own environment, basically, in as much as that might be the mentality of people there as well. So, yeah. Yomi. Is Yomi here?
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I was mute and I was speaking. So thank you so much, Dari. I really like what you said about integrating into the new culture. So while holding on to our own cultures, because I feel like a lot of times once you move, and I might be wrong, but once you move after a particular age, it's very, very difficult to remove some aspects of you. For example, everybody's like, oh, you've been in England for quite a while and you still have a Nigerian accent. It can't go anywhere anymore. That's me. It's the same way Paki still has her Indian accent. There's no way her accent is going to. But there are parts of the reason you moved, I would say, is to learn about a new culture, a new economy, a new society, new people. So integrate, learn more about it, participate in things that interest you. And I feel like a big thing that helped me was just opening my heart to learning and being vulnerable and meeting people and understanding that I will make mistakes, I will fail, but just being open. Like before I moved to England, I had a great time in Nigeria, but personally, before I moved, I had no idea that I'll have friends from so many countries, or like, like for example, the mental health cafe, we have Pearl from Ghana, we have Dari from Nigeria, Paki from India, Olat from Spain. I couldn't have imagined that. So, but like, participating in the country, meeting people and learning more about them, you find things that you have in common. You find things like sometimes in the global shapers meetings, we go off tangents from like the purpose of the meeting and we're just gisting about things that we have in common. So I think opening your heart and also being willing to meet people is a very fundamental thing. Paki.
Oh, sorry. So I think the major factors for students could be, of course, what Dem mentioned about moving to a new place. Definitely, it's I think one of the biggest reasons because we are used to living a very different life in our own countries. We all might be privileged in one or the other way, whether it's economic or social or emotional, by surrounded by supportive friends and parents. And when we come over here, it's like building everything up from scratch. And if you have a dream to actually be over here for a very long time, it's really important to acknowledge that, okay, this is a new place. I cannot really do anything about it. All I can do is be my best self and, be involved and use each and every opportunity as much as I can. The other thing is also a lot of times, what I think, Yomi, you said about the accent. Of course, it won't go because we have been brought up in a different country, and this is a completely different country, even though we are all fluent in English. We are not British people. We aren't born in this country, and we will always be different. But then there is a very powerful saying that there's individuality is your superpower. And I think that is something we all should, be very proud of. Even though we all come from different backgrounds, we have something very unique to offer to this country, to the passions that that we follow. For me, it's the Global Shapers community, and I just love being a part of it. I love working with startups in Midlands, and that gives me so much pride and purpose that, okay, whatever I'm doing, it is, useful. And I never had these kind of opportunities back in India, and that is why I'm also very grateful that I've had these opportunities. I am someone who can now fully live her dream. And I'm every day grateful for all the opportunities. Yes, you will have struggles. There was a time when I think, Yomi, you know about it. So a few months ago, somebody broke into my apartment. It was a gated community. Somebody broke in and we had to leave. So it was just me and my sister. We were waiting for the police for like 15, 20 minutes. I tried calling almost everyone that I knew on my list, but of course everybody was asleep or their phones were on silent. So nobody knows what kind of challenges you might, you might face or you might, have put into. At my workplace, I face completely different challenges. Even though I'm on a sponsored job, I have everything, that should be right on paper. But then on the outside, the Instagram life, it's all fancy, it's all nice. But then on the back end, it's, the building blocks that go into the whole process of becoming. So if students can acknowledge that whole individuality, their superpowers, yes, we all had amazing lives before, but what we're trying to build over here is also very special, and it's just a phase, and the next step in your purpose and your calling. So I think if students can do that, that would be great for them to. And of course, what you said about engaging with so many different communities. I think that is one thing that I've always done. I haven't been very, specific with, okay, I am Indian, I'll only, mingle with my Indian friends or just, people who I can relate to. I have always been very open to different cultures, have made friends from all around the world, and Aston has been very great for that. And even where I work right now, it's an office with all British people. My team is all white British people. And I don't feel not aligned with them, I absolutely enjoy their company. I love them. And if it wasn't me being open and honest and accepting of their culture, of their beliefs, they wouldn't have accepted me as well. So it's a two-way street as well. So if we can all do and come together, find that sweet spot, it could just work for everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Paki. So I'm going to rush through because I really want us to do the question and answer session, and time has flown. So final one, Dari, in an emergency, like someone having a mental breakdown, so like different sides. So witnessing your friend having a mental health breakdown, or you yourself having a mental health breakdown, or a colleague, what are the immediate steps to take?
So, first things first, just like the breathing exercise that I did, it's very important that if nobody is around, especially if you are the one going through that mental breakdown, you are able to quickly do the breathing exercise yourself or guide your friend to do that. Other options are to call a professional. So I know that there are different social lines depending on the country. I know there's a general one America has, UK. Most countries have specific social lines or lines you can call. You can easily call, or reach out to mental professionals around, basically, so that things that can also be able to happen, so that people can be okay, basically. Because the truth is that even with attacks, it's more like breathing and just being able to calm down and being able to just be relaxed, basically. But there are a couple of things that can happen before the emergency as well. I know we didn't talk about this, but I just want to quickly just address these things that, I'm someone that believes in, let's not wait for problems to happen before we do something about it. So I'm challenging you. Maybe you are in a different country, you're about to go to a different country. I'm also encouraging you, Yomi, that let's see how we can have more campus events like this. It would be nice if we have more universities doing more events like this, where it's confidential, people can come, express themselves, say what they are truly dealing with. Let's have more virtual support groups, more physical support groups in different universities and campuses. Let's see how people can get access to resources, phone numbers, health services they can easily call, and just text messages or WhatsApp group, whatever it is, or special emails that they get, basically just to see how people can know what to do before it gets to that emergency situation. Let's not wait for the problem to happen. Like, oh, what can I do? Are there materials? Are there systems or processes in place for people? And if these systems do not exist, go ahead and create yours. I started as SARS from a place of, I personally was suicidal and depressed. I was able to come out of it. I wanted to volunteer. I didn't see something that I would have wanted. Hence why I started to create the community of what I would have wanted, right? So I'm saying this, that do not feel limited. And so Yomi, thank you very much for starting this. You started by creating an awareness program like this. I would say, let's have more of this. Let people get inspiration to see how they can also create more in their countries, everywhere. And let's see how we can collaborate as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Dari. No, you're completely right. I feel like when we see gaps, we should find ways to plug in and fill the gaps. I think that, like, going off how you started as SAD, for example, so we knew we're going to have the mental health cafe, but then we didn't know what topic to start with. And I think we were in a meeting, and the meeting was supposed to be focused around something else. And Paki, I don't know if you remember, but all of us we were all international students in the meeting, and we all had things we were going through, like different, profound, complex experiences. And I was just kind of like, you know what, this is my community. I'm an ethnic minority here. I'm an international student. So I think the first topic we should focus on for our cafe should be the mental health of international students. So I like that you said, don't wait for people to do it. If you see a gap, plug in and fill in. Let's collaborate, let's partner, let's do things together. And let's not always wait for, oh, nobody is doing it, or just complaining. Let's be the change. So thank you very much, everybody. it's important. Mental health is more than a state of mind. Having good mental health is more than the absence of illness. Rather, it's a state of holistic well-being. So going off what Dari said, let's not wait for the problem to start before we solve it. So for me, one of the fundamental things I did before moving was I started seeing a therapist because I understood that this is a new world for me that I might not be equipped with. And let me talk to a therapist to give me like the effective coping mechanisms. I also started joining communities of mental health advocates because I knew that I was prone to struggling with my mental health, so that in the instance that anything happens, I will have a safe space. And something did happen, once I finished my master's degree. Sorry, I digress, but I feel like this will help someone. I finished my master's degree. The day I submitted my dissertation, I had a mental breakdown. I had a very bad panic attack because I started worrying about accommodation, a job, how I was going to survive in the country, money, and everything in between. And I don't know if Dari remembers, but like we have a whole community, Nigerian mental health. And I literally wrote there, I was like, I'm having a panic attack. I need help. And immediately people started calling me and I was able to do the breathing exercises. So although I had to like go and see a professional and like get more help, in that instance, I didn't die. Because I know it sounds dramatic, but I literally couldn't breathe. I was like, am I going to be homeless? What's going to happen to me? Everybody will feel like, oh, I should be happy because I finished my dissertation, but it's like, okay, my student accommodation is now gone. So what next? So I feel like also finding active ways to build in support into our lives before anything happens is very, very important. So thank you so much. And then I'm going to drop another link in the comments while we're going through the question and answer session. Please fill it in again because it will be very helpful in, giving us some perspective on the session, what we can improve, what you enjoyed and all. Thank you so much. So it's question and conversation time. If you're too shy to speak, that's okay. Please just leave your question or comment in the comment box. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording now for